Hi there everyone, welcome back to Dandelion Delphi Tutorials. We are going to have a look at the November of 2021, the paper 1, the practical paper, question 2.2, which covers database programming, where we link through Addo tables. As I explained in the previous video, you are going to receive appendixes at the back of the paper that you need to tear off that contain some data and the data types of the fields and descriptions, and also the relationship that we'll use for the first question. This is the first button of question 2.2, so you'll find it on the second tab sheet called Outstanding Fees. And here they are asking us to display the club name and annual membership fee as part of a heading, and then the surname and amount paid and outstanding for each club member in the rich edit. This here is an extract of the output. So there is the name of a club and their annual fee. And then underneath this, the members. Now, if you have a look at the two tables, the name of the club and the member fees are in TBL clubs. And then the members' names and surnames and how much they have paid is in TBL members. From this, you can see that you are going to read from both tables. Now, since if you have a look at the output, the name of the club is displayed first, I would start by looping through TBL clubs to display the name and their membership fee. Then on the inside of this loop, I'm going to loop through the members to display the name and amount paid and calculate then how much they owe. So each club has a different membership fee, so you will have to use the membership fees and the amount they've paid so far to see how much they owe up to now to display the outstanding amount. Press pause and try this yourself. As I said, we will start with TBL clubs so that we are able to display the club name and the membership fees. Those lines were just equal signs next to each other. And then loop through the members table. So what's happening here is always when you are looping through these tables, you're going to have, it's the name of the table, TBL clubs, dot first, then while not end of TBL clubs, then a begin and an end. These while loops will always have a begin and an end. And then as the last line of this while loop, you have TBL clubs dot next. Then start coding in between this begin and end. So to produce the name of the club, that was fairly simple. We just have our richedit.lines.add, name of the table, TBL clubs, and then square brackets with a field name, club name inside of that. Then there was an equal sign to indicate the membership fee, and the membership fee there was a real, well, it was a currency data type in the field, but in the table, but here we would use floater string F to display mem fee. We can't use it without floater string F, that will cause an error, as it is a number data type. So any number data types, integer, real, or currency, they all need to make use of either floater string F or int string for those that are integers. And this had to display the currency, and you could see in the output 2 decimal places. So I'm using my floater string F as usual. Then that line with the equal signs, don't worry about counting them in an exam. You can just put a whole bunch there. The examiners, when we're marking matric final exams, we won't go and count your equal signs. Then there was a heading. So let's quickly have a look again. So that's what we've done so far, that part there. Now we have a heading only displaying once. So for every once that I go to a new club, one heading must be displayed. So I'm not going to put this inside of the TBL members while loop. And here I have the headings separated with a #9. You could see they were in nice, neat columns. When you're using a #9, don't immediately assume that you have to set up tab stops. This question they actually gave you, if you jump to form create, they actually set up the tab stops for you. So a good idea is always just to run your code once and then have a look to see if those tab stops are needed. If they're not needed, then you don't need to set them, because there are default tab stops in rich edits as well that might be enough for you to display it in neat columns. So now I'm still on the inside of TBL clubs, but I start looping through TBL members, starting with dot first. So this is really the same. Dot first, while not end of the table, begin, end, and before the end, have your dot next, but on the inside of the loop for TBL clubs. And the aim here of this if statement is now to test where they have the same value in the field where they are linked. So if you have a look then again at the linking, that was through club ID. You can see they are linked through club ID, and that's my if statement there. Is the TBL members, the club ID, equal to TBL clubs, the club ID? If you go back to the question, you will see that you've been asked to display the amount paid, which is a field in the members table, but also that you have to display the amount outstanding. To determine the amount outstanding, we need to take the member fee of the club and deduct from that how much this person has paid already, which is in TBL members. So here we have TBL clubs, the member fee, deducted from that the amount that the member has paid from TBL members, and that I've stored in R outstanding. And then we need to display the member's surname, amount paid, and outstanding in each column. So I have separated these fields with #9s. And also make sure that you make use of floater string if on the amount paid from TBL members, the currency, and then also display this value that you calculated up here. Just a quick reminder that the dot next will be the last line in your while loop of the table you're looping through. So you can see here's TBL members while not in the file. There's the begin and end of the green while loop, and TBL members dot next is my last line in that while loop. We'll always do it this way, except when we are deleting multiple records from a table. So go and check out that video where I explain Addo Tables database programming, where we're deleting many records. There's just the dot next of the outer while loop for TBL clubs. Before you think you are done, always just have a quick look at the output. Can you see there's an empty line here? I call that a hidden question because it doesn't say leave a line empty or open in the question paper itself, but in my output, I can see there is an open line. So that's this last line of code that I've added. Just before I loop to the next club, I have my empty line there. Run your program and click on outstanding fees, and this is what the output looks like. Every club and its members and their outstanding fees and the amount that the user has to pay or the member has to pay at the top, and empty lines in between. The next question is asking us to update the hikes completed. So select a member from TBL members. This is actually not code that you have to write. You can see that this is above the sentence that says write code to. This is just to indicate that you don't need to search for anything, but while the program is running, you're going to click on one of the TBL members, or one of the records in the DB grid, and you are going to add 1 to their number of hikes completed. Press pause and try it yourself. Easy marks here, guys. Remember, for both edit and insert, we need the dot post. And they basically look the same on the inside. So we have a field here on the left that we want to change. And this one says add one to the hikes completed. So let's say they completed 5 hikes already. I would add one to it, so that makes it 6. And 6 is now stored as the number of hikes completed. So you run your program and you select any one of these records. You can see at the moment they have 9 hikes completed. When I click on update, it changes to 10. If I click on the other ones, let's say this guy here had 19, it will change to 20. The last question of question 2.2 is telling us that only the following clubs allow new members to join. They have been listed on the form here, the club names, and there's their club ID. And this is just what they explained there, also the format, that it's the club ID, a dot, and then the club name. Then they explain what code has been provided and that the user has to click on the radio group before they add a new member. Now, what they're asking us to do here is extract that club ID from the radio group, from what the user selected, and then assign it to the club ID, as well as the values provided in the variables. Then they say add the required statements to ensure that a new member's details are saved to the database. That really just means a .post. I will get back to what this means, but you can test it only once. So once you've clicked on the button once, you can't test it again unless you click on the Restore Database button. Press pause and try this yourself. They have provided you with the input here for the surname, name, date of birth, and the member code. You now have to store the club ID. So I've stored the name of the club and its ID as it's there from the radio group with my normal items and item index. And now I need to get hold of the club ID. So what I've done is I've copied out only the first character. So go to the first character and string to int that as an integer because the club ID is a number in your database. So I wanted to store that as an integer. The rest is pretty simple. We have .insert and we have .post. And we have club ID assigned to the club ID as I determined up there. And then we have the member name, surname. Make sure you spell these fields correctly. Date of birth, nothing really much. It doesn't matter if you added the hikes completed and amount paid to 0. It wasn't asked, but it's okay if you added it. But very important is that you have your .post. I'm going to add a member for the Mountain Free Club. So I click on that and I click add a member. And Nkosi, I think that was the guy that we added. Let's go back. Yep, that was the one we added. And can you see their club ID is 3 because I copied out only that first character from the item there. Should I now, even if it's a different club, try to add it again? That's what that last bit meant in the note. I'm going to get an error and it says blah, 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 blah. Create duplicate values in the index or primary key. So if we have a look here, what is the primary key? I'm now at the end of the paper where the appendixes are. And here you can see the member code is the primary key. Remember, primary key needs to be unique. And since we're hard coding this, so they gave us a member code that there. I can't add 2 of them because that will then create a duplicate primary key. And remember, a primary key needs to be unique. So therefore, I can't run it again. However, if you need to run it again, so even while the program is running, if you're experiencing that error, you can click on continue, or you can stop it and run it again, and just click on restore database and click on yes. And I'm going to go back there, and now I can click on any of the clubs. It's not about the clubs. The clubs here is the foreign key that I'm adding. And now I can add Nkosi again. I hope this helped you guys. Remember, don't watch, you need to practice. Thank you for watching Dandelion Delphi tutorials. Hope to see you soon.